The Madhya Pradesh is a state that has a history of scams. The Food and Drugs Administrator had certified that this was legal. The doctor prescribed a dose that was therapeutic and acceptable. How was a doctor to know that the drug would be contaminated? Strangely, nobody thought of arresting the promoters of the company. The police did not file a case immediately, they waited. This raises a few other questions. This is not the first time that cough syrups have caused deaths. Hi, this is RN Bhaskar from Bhaskar Ki Business Baatein. This is a channel that comes to you with policy analysis, conversations, and occasional business story. And today, we are on policy analysis. It's about an unfortunate situation that occurred in the state of Madhya Pradesh recently. At the end of September, beginning of October, on the nights of September, October, all of a sudden in a hospital, there were reports of babies dying. The babies are dying because they had taken cough syrup, which could be contaminated. Nobody said anything. The matter did not alarm anyone. The police did not file a case immediately. They waited. In the next 2 days, the death toll started climbing. By the end of the week, the number of deaths had crossed 22. After day 3, the police realized that they were up to something very, very big. Alarms went off. All the stocks are sealed. They found that the cough syrup had been manufactured in the state of TamilNadu. Promptly, the teams in TamilNadu were informed, and the factories that produced this cough syrup were also sealed. Strangely, nobody thought of arresting the promoters of the company. Instead, what did the police do? The police went and arrested the doctor. Now look at the funny situation. The doctor was a pediatrician who knew how to deal with children. The doctor prescribed a medicine that the government itself, through the FDA, the Food and Drugs Administrator, had certified that this was legal. The doctor prescribed a dose that was therapeutic and acceptable. How was a doctor to know that the drug would be contaminated? He was arrested. When the matter went to court, the police changed the story and they said, no, we arrested the doctor because he had taken a 10% commission from the manufacturer of the drug. What a stupid argument. Every child knows that many doctors across India get commissions from manufacturers of prescribing the drugs. The government knows that an inquiry was put up several years ago and no action has been taken against that. Why pick up this doctor? You should be going after the entire doctors, all the doctors. But we suspect that the police and the FDA picked on the doctor just as a scapegoat so that people would think that the government was doing something in this matter. Now, please remember that the first incidents took place in Madhya Pradesh. Now, the Madhya Pradesh is a state that has a history of scams. Remember the Vyapam scam, the marksheet scandal? Remember the honey trap scam, where sex was used to blackmail politicians and policymakers? And now you had a cough syrup scam. None of the scams anyone got arrested, anyone went to prison for too long. Now you have a drug, you have a cough syrup scam, and a week later they found out in another hospital, in the government hospital, that someone had complained that the cough syrup, that the medicines that were given, antibiotic medicine that was given, had worms in it. The stocks are seized, investigations are underway. Now, this raises a few other questions. This is not the first time that cough syrups have caused deaths. In 2023, they caused deaths in Gambia, about 80 deaths. They caused a similar number of deaths in Uzbekistan and also in Cameroon. And because the deaths took place in all the three countries, an alert was sent out But the WHO at that time, immediately the government, the present government, and Madhya Pradesh is a state ruled by the present government, immediately the government brought in a new set of rules and said when cough syrups are concerned, after they're produced, after the FDA says, yes, this is good, it must go through another test in government laboratories. Which means that this cough syrup, which caused 22 deaths, was certified by the FDA, was also certified by government laboratories, and then reached the markets. And the markets, it was found to be contaminated with a substance that killed children. Now, further investigation showed that the contaminant which caused the deaths was something called DEG. Now, DEG is a chemical that is used in industrial chemicals for industrial use, not for human consumption. And then they found that DEG is sometimes formed when someone takes substandard raw materials, or to cut prices, they take cheaper raw materials and DEG gets formed in the medicine. Was that the case this time?
Almost after a week.
The police decided to go after the owners of the factories. And then the newspaper said that the owners had run away. They were absconding. Why did you wait for days? To give them a chance to escape? To my mind, the biggest culprit is the FDA. How did the FDA certify the drug first? How did the FDA give an easy license to a man to manufacture medicines without having a track record? Internationally, companies are allowed to produce medicines only when they have a track record of being a loan licensee for someone else. Easy licensing, easy grant of licensing, substandard testing, some collusion which allowed even the government laboratories also to pass the drug. The first culprit should be the FDA. Not a single official of the FDA has been charge-sheeted or has been arrested. You arrest a doctor. If that is not enough, the second culprit is the police for having arrested the doctor. It's a misuse of law. It's a misuse of judicial process. The doctor is not guilty. The doctor did whatever any doctor would have done. Whether the doctor took 10% or did not take 10% is another matter. But that's something the government report has already come out with in the past. And if that is not enough, the World Health Organization, the WHO of the United Nations, sent out an advisory to all countries saying that some of the drugs, cough syrups from India are contaminated. Be careful. Now, India is a country which has a very robust pharmaceutical industry. They are big exporters. But these Johnny-come-latelys spoil the name of Indian exporters by selling us substandard drugs and killing people even overseas. Look at the deaths in Gambia, in Uzbekistan, in Cameroon. I do not know whether the owners of the drug companies in those cases also were arrested or not. They are guilty of murder. Uzbekistan did something very clever. Since they could not catch the owners, they caught the local managers and put them in prison for 20 years. Has India ever tried to do that with culprits? With people who manufacture medicines, substandard medicines that cause deaths? What does that tell you? That in India, we care more for the manufacturers and let them escape, but we don't care for the lives of common people, especially if the common people are poor. Investigations are still underway. In the meantime, the IMA, the Indian Medical Association, has started demonstrating in all state capitals against the way a doctor was arrested. The matter is likely to blow up even further if all the doctors decide to go on strike for the misuse of law and the misapplication of legal provisions. It's a sad case. You allow substandard drugs, you kill children, and then you find excuses to arrest someone who's not guilty and let the guilty people escape. And then you say they're absconders. The government says it believes in a glorious Bharat, a ViksitBharat. It talks about Ayushman Bhava, where the health of the country is paramount. And then you have these situations which throw an ugly stain on India's reputation. The matter has reached the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is yet to decide. I do hope the Supreme Court looks into this seriously, because when one arm of the government, which is the politician, the policy maker, is in collusion with another arm of the government, which is the executive, the FDA is the executive, the police is the executive, when both of them collude, there's only one more area, and that's the court that can bring in justice. If the court fails to do that, it'll undermine people's confidence, and they will depend on information and opinions and verdicts of newspapers, of social media, because the legitimate has suddenly become irrelevant. It is important that the guilty are brought to justice, that this sort of thing never happens again. Thank you. Thanks for watching. And do stay tuned in. We'd love to have you more often on this channel to hear on policy issues. Thanks again. You'll find us now every morning at 8:15 a.m. on weekdays, where we come out with daily news, or better still, news behind the news. Do watch it.